Hey there friends, and welcome to Laugh Napkin. My name is Frank, and today we're going to be looking at the subreddit r/MaliciousCompliance. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This story happened to me in my college days, many years ago, and to this day, whenever I remember it, I let out a smile. I graduated in a traditional and very strict engineering school. At that time, there were no substitute exams of any kind, no matter the reason. So it wasn't uncommon for people to fail subjects because they couldn't attend the test day. In the end of my last year, I don't know how or why, since I took the vaccine, I got the chickenpox. Luckily for me, I didn't suffer at all. Maybe a day with a mild fever and that's it. All the itching was completely mitigated with medicine. Although externally, I looked really bad. More concerned about my appearance than anything, I called and asked if I can take my exam another day. The lady who answered immediately denied my request, as expected. Then, being as patient and kind as possible, I tried to explain my situation, but she was very rude and cut my explanation short, not letting me even say what my illness was. As a last attempt, I asked if I could at least take the exam in a separate classroom. Then she told me to wait on the line. I heard some people talking in the background and laughing. After she left me hanging for more than 10 minutes, she comes back just to say that there is no way. So I thanked her and hung up. I don't really know what the heck they expected, that I didn't come and failed my very last test? Hell no. So I went, looking absolutely hideous. Not a square inch of my skin didn't have that mad hash, including my face. In the class, after the monitor arrives, he told me to remove my sunglasses and cap, as per regulations, and so I did, including my jacket and medical face mask. Oh boy, I'll never forget his facial expression. And then my fun begins. During the test, I started to fake cough like a man about to die. Getting really good on my act was really amusing, seeing the monitor's reaction going from little apprehension to total panic, until he gave up and left, leaving the class unattended. Barely able to hold my bursting laugh at this point, my colleague, who got what was going on, looks at me, also holding his laugh and shaking his head. In the end, I did pretty well on the exam and had my fun, including paying a visit to the lady who left me hanging. Later on, after graduation, I found out through a friend that I became sort of a famous joke, like the guy who came back from the dead to attend his exam. Yes! OP probably looked like a monster up in that class. I'm surprised that they let him finish the exam, especially after the teacher walked out. On to the next story. Gramps had just moved into a retirement park with a lot that backed up to a county land that was a nature preserve. His backyard was basically non-existent, but he didn't mind as he got to look out over the preserve. However, he did marvel at how his next-door neighbor's backyard extended a good 8 feet past his, giving neighbor a nice space back there. Gramps tried to be friendly with all his new neighbors, exchanging phone numbers and the like. And one day, he noticed the next-door neighbor was putting down expensive pavers that extended from his back door all the way to the old fence post that designated the preserve boundary. Gramps watched the neighbor yank the 3 rickety fence posts out of the ground and move them back an extra 2 feet into the preserve before pounding them back in, then started to clear the land, intending to gain himself more area for his pavers. Gramps used to work for the National Park Services as a young lad, so he thought he had better warn his neighbor of the consequences of his actions. So he heads out back for a little chat. Neighbor is immediately defensive, and before Gramps says much, neighbor tells him, "You're new here. I've been here 10 years. And to mind your own damn business." Gramps decides not to press the issue. Nothing happens that year, but the following year, when most of the park emptied out to head north for the summer, the county comes by to check on the preserve. Gramps notices them going back and forth behind his neighbor's house. The workers are pulling out maps and taking photos and making phone calls, and soon, more guys show up. Turns out neighbor has moved the post several times over the years. And in reality, his backyard is supposed to be even smaller than Gramps' backyard. To make it worse, neighbor put pavers in the back specifically to park both his golf cart and a cherry red sports car back there for the summer, so the county will have to move them before they can do anything else. They tape a notice to the front door and leave. Gramps goes over to read it, and it states that neighbor was in violation of encroaching onto protected lands. He has 30 days to move his car, tear up the pavers, and pay a fine of $11,000 because of damage to endangered species who inhabit the protected lands, as well as trespassing fees. Failure to do so in 30 days will result in golf cart and car being towed and impounded. Pavers will be dug up and carted off at neighbor's expense, and the fine will increase for every additional day past the deadline. 30 days comes and goes, so a week after that, Gramps has quite the show as first the car and cart were towed, pavers were dug up and hauled off, and the old fence posts and ropes were replaced with metal posts embedded into buried cement bases, connected by steel cables. Whole process took several weeks to finish, but the preserve looked a lot more legit when they were done. A few solar cameras were installed so the county could monitor the wildlife and encroachers remotely. Meanwhile, more notices were taped to the front door of neighbor's house. By November, the snowbirds were flooding back into the park, including neighbor. That was Gramps' second show of the summer, as neighbor reads all the notices, digging down until he reads the first one, then runs back and starts screaming and cussing up a storm before running back to his car to dig out the cell phone so he can call the county to find out where his car and golf cart were. Gramps stays indoors to avoid the guy as he's frantically trying to unload his car, turn on his water and electricity, get the AC and toilets going, all while trying to get someone at the county to pick up the phone and give him some answers. He finally gets a live person and proceeds to scream at them while on speakerphone about his car and cart. So the call keeps getting kicked to other people because who wants to help a screamer? Basically, neighbors told to come to the county office to get this straightened out. 3 days later, neighbor catches Gramps outside and asks if he was here when the county stole his car and destroyed his backyard. Gramps said he was, and neighbor says, "Well, why didn't you call me when you saw them putting notices on my door? You had my number up north." Gramps said he had thought about doing that, but figured neighbor would prefer him to mind his damn business, so he decided against it. This is so juicy. OP doesn't tell us how much the cranky neighbor's fines were in the end, but could you imagine how much it costs alone just to get the cars and golf cart out of the impound lot? I'm pretty sure those places charge by the day, and dude was gone for the entire summer. Ouch. Let's get a like on this video for well-served karma. On to the next story. Work at a small Chinese restaurant that generally only has locals and regulars with the odd visit from out of the area. Because it's so small on a normal day or night, we will only have one waitress on a shift. We were having a relatively quiet night, so I was sitting around pouring soy sauce into bottles and cleaning chili jars. This table of 4 people walk in, and they're all relatively nice, and I give them a good old casual greeting and seat them down. They do their stuff and order their meal, and for drinks they only get table water, which is normal. When I bring out their food, the old man, henceforth OM, asks for a bottle of the red wine. Now, we don't serve alcohol, nor do we even have a bio, which I think that stands for bring your own, like bring your own alcohol. I'm not yet 18, so I can't even handle alcohol if we did. I told him we don't have any alcohol, and he goes on this rage, pointing out a bottle that was on our shelf. I knew what he was pointing to. It was our Chinese vinegar. Now, these bottles look remarkably like Asian alcohol. They're green with red on it, and all the writing is in Chinese. I told him that, "Sir, that's vinegar, not wine." He went on an alcoholic rage, yelling about how I couldn't know what alcohol was because I was underage, and how I was hiding alcohol from him and he would make a complaint on our Facebook page. His children and wife look embarrassed and are trying to hide themselves, and his wife gives me a look that just says, "Do it, and he'll regret it." So I went and got a bottle of the vinegar and put it on the table. Old man makes a really big deal out of it and says stuff like, "Wasn't that easy? Waitresses in my day would have done it in 2 seconds." I walk away, and when I turn around to check, he'd spat a mouthful of vinegar out and onto the plate, and was trying to wash out the taste of Chinese vinegar with water. To be fair, the wife did come up to me later and apologize for his idiocy. They never made that Facebook post and paid $20 for the bottle since we couldn't use it again. Let's take a moment of silence for this old cranky man and his embarrassed family. What do you think chugging vinegar tastes like? I'm gagging just at the thought of it. And that, my friends, is the end of today's stories. Did you have fun? I know I did. Hit that thumbs up button if you smiled at least once. Comment below if you want to help support my channel. And if you're new here, you already know what I'm gonna say. Smash that, wait, hit that, no, that's not the right one either. Lightly touch that subscribe button. And I'll see you all tomorrow.